So, I seem to have made a mistake that was quite rightly pointed out to me by some of the viewers of the last video. My dechlorinator upgrade, kindly given to me by, oh sorry, David Decoy. That's the last one, that is. So yeah, yeah, you're right. I'm looking at this. I mean, remember last time when I said I'll make it up as I go along? Well, I was wrong. No, I was right, saying, well, whatever. Anyway, so I've had a look. People were saying they got it wrong way around. Out is in and in is out. What are you on about? Out is in and in is out. So I fixed it on the wall here to blow in, to trickle in. So water came in this end, went out that end. Now on close inspection, I can see a U and half of a T just in this little hole thing here. So I have a funny feeling that's the word out. And on this end, I can see what looks like half of an N. So potentially that means in. Where are we going with this hand? I know, I tell you, basically I think what it is that's the out and that's the in, and I've put it the wrong way around. So whoever pointed out to me, and there was 2 or 3 of you that quite rightly did, and I give you a thumbs up and said, okay, duh. School day, school day, school day, school day. Yeah, school day. So I need to just, I think I just switch it around. If I just move that, switch it around and put it on so it's here, then it'll be that way around. And that'll be in and that'll be out. But I need this plate there. Take panel off. Oh dear, that's dirty, that is. You could have cleaned it, Dave, before you gave it to me. I'm just kidding. Right, I need to clean this off first. Got a spider, look at him go, whee! Wrecked his home, bless. Sorry, mate. I'll find him at home somewhere else in a minute. That was the out. So if I just switch it around like that, that's now in, out, in, out, in, out. Shake it all about. That's what it's all about. All together now. Oh dear, why? Why? I don't know. In the garden on my own, that's what it is. Anyways, right, so in, out, shake it all about, do the coke and all that kind of stuff. So, silly games. Right, nice and clean now. Superb. Jobs are good. Oops, sorry, that's short, that's not mine, is it? What? So there we go. Nice one. Let's get this back on. But just before I do, surely if I've moved these around, then that needs to be there, and that needs to be there. I'll do that. Boom, done. So now get it fitted. Right, static beds or moving beds. This all derived from this conversation. So here in the middle is just a static bed. That's why there was no air blowing through it a minute or two, unless he wants to clean it. And then obviously I fire this up, and then I'm just looking at the particles now. All the particles of rubbish and poop and God knows what else that gets landed in there as it starts to fall into the outer barrels.
And this is the way that I think K1 works the best. It's a static mechanical filter. I've never been a fan of these big moving bed filters, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, anything that's in there is just going to get pulled back straight out.
Yeah. That's interesting. So I'm wondering, with my, because I've got some KK1000 in my 3rd or 4th bay, in my multi-bay, if I stop aerating that, surely I'd lose beneficial bacteria, wouldn't I?
No.
I wouldn't?
No. I actually think it will work better mechanically if it's stationary. Technically it might work slightly better biologically if you're moving it and you're aerating it, but the benefit will be very small.
Yeah, I'm going to give that a whiz, I think, at mine. My moving bed is going to become static for a little while, I think. See what happens.
Try it.
See what happens. So you can't knock it till you tried it, can you?
No. Might work better than you think.
I think you might be right. So what am I trying to do here? I want to see what effect removing the oxygen through my currently moving bed is going to affect on the pond with regards to how efficient the beneficial bacteria is, because you've got two different types of beneficial bacteria in your pond. I believe there's an aerobic, which relies on oxygen, a constant supply of oxygen, and anaerobic, which doesn't rely or doesn't need a constant supply of oxygen, but apparently they both rely on each other to survive. So this is what I'm trying to do is have a look at, if I turn off the oxygen going through my moving bed, will that have effect on my ammonia and or my nitrite, which in effect having an issue with the fish. So something else I'm hoping from this is, when I was having that conversation at the Japanese water garden, that static bed was collecting a lot of rubbish. Again, this is going back to that boring conversation about do I get a tempest or not. So if I remove the oxygen from my moving bed, it becomes like a tempest, because water's coming up through it with rubbish in. Hopefully the rubbish collects, lets it out the other side, and then it goes through the next bed, which is a jack matting bed, and then another jack matting. And both those other ones will have oxygen, so we'll have anaerobic potentially in my, but when it becomes a static bed, and then aerobic as it goes through the Japanese matting. So I'll have both in the system. And of course you have the anaerobic and the aerobic, I believe, in your pond on your wall surfaces, because your pond will have all this kind of bacteria inside of the walls. That's why they always say don't pressure wash or don't clean off the walls of your pond to make them look nice, because you're wrecking a lot of the natural ecosystems of your pond that makes your pond work. There's been lots and lots of trials done with this. I've been doing this over sort of a period of about maybe 6-ish weeks, turning the air off, doing checks, turning it back on, doing checks, moving the air around, because I don't really like playing around with the filters too much in the season, because they're doing a vital job for me. You know, they're making sure that the ecosystem is going and it's looking after the pond and the pond fish. So the content you're going to see from now on has been based over a 6-week period, and then we're going to see how much of the rubbish the now static bed collects, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's an interesting one, because I've always wondered what would happen if I turned off the air on that. How detriment would it be to the system? So the system's been going now for a few weeks, and I'm seeing no major change. You know, I'm doing nitrite and ammonia samples daily when it's turned off. Now for the first week I could see a sudden increase in nitrite, no major increase in ammonia, which was good, but the nitrite started creeping up to the point where it spiked on week 2. So do I panic? Do I wait? Do I see what happens? So I held off, did a couple of water changes just to dilute the nitrite off a little bit, which was cool. And then all of a sudden it leveled off, and then it started dropping again. So now I'm getting tests coming through that show me there is a trace of nitrite. So that's not a major problem for me if there's only a trace. If we started going up, then I'd have to do more water changes and then start controlling it. But like I say, the ammonia, I've had no issues with the ammonia whatsoever. Now I'm going to use the pond liner, the underlay. I call it underlay now because people are saying that's not pond liner, that's pond liner's rubber. And I said, no, okay, so we call it pond liner underlay. Underlay. So I've just put an oversized piece in to see what rubbish it catches when I now fire up the air into what was the moving bed, which is now a static bed, and then see what it blows through, and then we'll come to some conclusions of what the future is of my filter system, because I have another idea. Wow, look at that. I've had to turn the system off because that extra filter stuff that I put on has just blocked up, and it started starving the rest of the pond. So I'll have to turn it off for a second because I'll have to get that out and get it changed. But that is the amount of muck that my static bed has now held when it was anaerobic rather than aerobic that it is now. So I'm going to turn the air back off that now because I want to keep the anaerobic in there. Right, I'm going to get that stuff out and see what it looks like. So conclusions, yeah, I have both in my pond. I have aerobic and anaerobic in my pond. Every pond does. It's just that with me turning that moving bed off and making it static, it's just collecting more rubbish from the pond. And what I'm finding is it's making the pond a little bit more clearer. So to me, I don't think it matters whether it's on or off, to be honest, because I wasn't really getting any major benefit from it being static or moving. Because apart from, like I say, it just kept collecting, as you saw, tons of rubbish that is easily removed. You know, I think that's when I put that pond underlay line of stuff on top of the jack matting and fired up the air, it just blew a load of rubbish into there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes and then blocked up. So I had to turn it off anyway, and then I flicked another piece on in off camera just to finish it off, and there wasn't much left. So because both of my tests, my nitrite and my ammonia, were coming up positive, so next to no ammonia and a trace of nitrite, which has been the same either with or without, because I was heavy feeding leading up to this, you know, lots and lots of food was going in before the temperatures started dropping, so I had to get this done before the temperatures started dropping. I had to reduce the foods down. So for me, you know, because I'm getting these results, I can use that as a static or as a moving bed. Or do I add something else to the filter system and continue to use that as a moving, but maybe do something static? Maybe something like putting a bead filter in, or creating another bay somewhere. I don't know. It's options are open, sort of thing, but only for space. Because, you know, the way my system is set up and where it's all designed with where the pond is and where my filter system is, I'm kind of limited for a little bit of space unless I start building outside of what I've already got. So there you go. Ponds have both aerobic and anaerobic bacteria in them, and you can kind of increase one or the other depending on what you've got in your filter systems. But if anybody else has got any more info down there and you want to comment below, fire away, because that's what we're here for. Every day is a school day. So thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe, like, share to all your friends, and click that like button. That's what makes the differences. Thanks very much for watching. Pond Lifestyle.